Dark, destroy him. Because the assignment is get 5 definitive ribbons which are completed in a random.
Yes, faggot. What?
You my dirty little faggot.
Well, then you're my bitch.
It's the boss, look.
Dead. Attack him now. Good.
Fucking what? For the rain guard.
Nobody actually fucked up. That's good.
Rain's here, Gastus.
Huh?
Rain's here.
It rain.
7 weeks of pure fucking dry heat.
7 weeks only.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Would you like to move to California and experience it for years on end?
No. Anytime I want to experience that is in But the anytime I want to experience that is when I have my compound, which is fully air conditioned, and I have my equipment around me.
Action stations.
Well, now he's fucking getting a report.
Why?
Because he's encouraged modders to give him money. And when I said I can give him a report instead, he sent a bounty on me. Fucking little twat.
Lol.
Fucking...
You stay in your club?
What? That's actually not a fucking bad idea.
Just dance and like...
The thing is, I can't...
Many thanks.
I'm flying in the blimp right now.
Oh god. The blimp?
Yeah.
Did he mod it in?
What?
He modded it in?
Oh, it's a mission you get from the club thingy, where you have to fly a blimp with speakers on, play music around the whole town. No, techno music, you bastard.
That is techno music.
No.
Yeah, right?
The fuck are you crazy, Augustus?
Enemy force sighted on the horizon.
Oh!
Blow.
Oh! Ow. I might die now. Ow.
Well, we got you.
I jumped out of the blimp. And it went into a building with a bang.
Provide anti-aircraft fire support.
Oh shit. Mig on my tail.
Did he leave?
Where you gonna bail?
I think that little crybaby left.
Quite maybe left.
Oh no, 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 come on. Yeah. Oh shit. Shit.
Sort of like
Oh man, that was fucking close.
But did you land, did you?
I had a MiG, an I-153, and a P-26 on my tail. They're all shooting at me.
Oh my god, did you kill any of them?
I was going too fast to dive. So I had to cut all power to my engines so that I could slow down. And then my pilot blacked out.
Blacked out? Oh shit.
He blacked out in the dive, and my plane started to tilt to the right.
That is not a good position to be, sir.
Yeah, I was like, oh shit, and I was only like 300 meters above the ground at that point, and my wing almost clipped a tree, and then my pilot recovered, and I landed.
You're very lucky.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Nope.
Oh, I'm just fucking getting ready.
That tastes even worse.
Torpedoes to starboard. Torpedoes, dead ahead.
Ah, fucking motors.
More?
Yeah. A new
What's
one.
going on there?
He suddenly just appeared in front of me and shot me. And did it again. I can't shoot.
What's funny
because
is
he's-
great use of the modern power is to teleport to where you are just to shoot you.
yeah, it's fucking stupid, isn't
Like,
it?
he spawned in a shitload of things to fuck me, you know?
Yeah, he did. He did now. He, like, put 200 fucking cops in front of him.
But that's a more respectable way to fuck your person, yeah?
Anti-aircraft gun crews are on full.
incredible that you can actually be that fucking good at games to actually have. To actually use fucking mods to do something with. Fucking stupid. At least he fucking left, that cunt. I actually think he got kicked out. He got fucking kicked out. Ha!
Lol. Script kiddies and shit, innit?
Yeah.
I download this exe and put in the Steam folder.
God damn it, turn, you piece of garbage.
I just don't understand why people who are Rockstar, why the fuck they're not doing anything against it. They have lost so many fucking players because they don't want to play the game anymore.
They probably do as much as they can, it's just there's so many of them, you know?
The thing is, they should IP ban you instead of just ban your fucking thing. You can fucking easily get a new account in it and just go in and do it again after that.
Yeah.
The consequences for doing it is so fucking low, it's ridiculous.
Stations, reporting the position of a strategic target.
You know, earlier today I was playing against someone, he called me a pay-to-win noob.
And what?
World of Warships.
Did you sail in a ship that was to win?
Taking the lead.
I did actually, yeah. But the guy was so awful. You know what I'm saying? He's broad. He said to us, "You're fucking broadside all over the place, you fucking idiot." Yeah.
Oh, that doesn't help, does it?
He got very angry at me then when I said that.
Good. I have to learn that it's not always rainbows and sunshine.
This is true about life.
All stations, reporting the position of a strategic target.
Acknowledged.
What?
Nothing. I might have put a proxy mine on another person's car while he was doing something in his garage. And it's sitting so he can't see it, it's just bugged inside of his car.
I approve.
Anti-aircraft gun crews.
I've gotten paired with the same guy twice in a match, and he does nothing but bitch about the fighters.
Shoot him down. It's a bomber.
He's like, oh, no, he's bitching about art. People on our
The enemy
team.
is about to win.
Yeah, shoot him down.
He's already dead.
Anti-aircraft gun crews are on normal alert. The ship is on fire!
He's like, oh, no, but they all went back to base at the same time, and then the fighter came over and killed me. I said, well, why didn't you?
Sir.
fucking dodged. He was flying that A3 whatever the fuck it is, that thing that you like that I really hate.
astern.
Thing that I like but you really hate.
The fighter bomber.
The D3YA.
Yeah. That thing. He was flying one of those.
Yeah,
and he lost.
Dogfight in there. Yeah,
he lost in a turn fight to a Russian fighter.
Sucks.
Like that's not the fighter's fault, buddy. That's him, the pilot.
Plane's really good. I like that.
A lot of gaming experience and they've a lot of yeah. They'll never admit to their own fucking failure. They'd rather fucking blame everybody else.
Target position.
We might get me.
Oh, that'll good. Well, go and get it.
Just like
General quarters.
it rains, but it's still fucking hot.
Good luck, everyone.
Oh well. You'll get that one, I guess. That's not fair.
Love is not fair.
For fuck's sake, come on, you piece of fucking junk car. Why was this the only fucking car in Miles' area? Yeah, I have other things to fucking do than chase that guy down.
Enemy cruiser detected. Enemy battleship detected.
Why the hell did we lose? They had one person left, build a base, and yet we lost.
It was a game mode.
It was realistic.
Yeah, but there's what's the map?
Oh, I don't.
Enemy battleship
Uh,
sighted.
Hold on.
Game
Yeah.
mode or whatever.
defeat in the Operation Counteroffensive mission.
What is involved in counteroffensive?
Does not say.
Enemy cruiser sighted.
You're gonna be like, oh my god, that's so bad. Thank you.
Enemy battleship detected.
Fuck Jaeger.
I don't know. You will say, oh my god.
Is it a fat guy with a cheeseburger and a handgun?
Nope. Here we go.
And a Humvee?
That's not. Here's my box.
That is so fucking retarded.
That's a bit. No.
Oh, is that fucking thing you sent it on?
Yeah.
Suck as fuck.
Main turret critically damaged.
You're fucking weird.
It sucked
associate
as
with the
fuck.
Spanish Empire.
The enemy team is taking the lead.
America. Fuck yeah.
That's even worse. What the fuck?
Look at the fucking bald eagle.
Ugh.
The bald eagle.
Ugh.
Look at the bald eagle.
Nearly gonna fucking vomit.
Why?
There's nothing Spanish about that ship, Jaeger.
Yeah, there is. Look at the bald eagle. Fucking bird.
I see no representation of the Spanish Empire at all.
Yeah, goddamn right. Fucking bald eagle, mate.
Oh. There you go. I'm gonna give you a fucking ball eagle.
Are you gonna bug
Battle
me a bald eagle?
starts.
What?
You gonna bug me a bald eagle?
I'm gonna kill you, I know. So drunk idiot. Rammed into my fucking car, went outside and get rammed by mine. He's calling me drunk. He's goddamn
You are
right.
drunk, bro.
Fordere Unterstützung an.
But I can't get my favorite beer right now. They ran out. That's not really a joke.
Some guy in the chat said ABC females, hashtag me too.
Feuer auf festgelegtes Ziel konzentrieren. 了解。全艦、優先攻撃目標を指定する。
Torpedoes to starboard.
Enemy battleship sighted. 敵艦に攻撃を集中せよ。
Torpedoes to starboard.
Alrighty then.
Already did.
Guess they fucking an AI stand behind something and actually still fucking shoot you through it. For fuck's sake, I killed myself. Damn.
Now you know how
Fuck you. Well.
There's a fighter right now. I'm too high.
The ship is on. Problem solved, sir. Get on the start. On fire.
A bunch of yaks underneath.
Enemy cruiser.
Fuck up. Well done.
Come on, that's there. Please, let me get my bums off.
fucking idiots, fucking whores. Go in the chat.
Is he canceling?
He's canceling.
That's always... Well, I'm fucking grown up, yeah.
Someone just told him to shut the fuck up, calm the fuck down, take some LSD or something.
Well, he's probably doing both already.
I killed the base, and I'm happy. I drew the entirety of the enemy squad on me, but I got the base.
Did you kill anyone by shooting them down?
Hell no, I got ganked by like 8 people.
User joined your channel.
The ship is on fire.
Who joined?
I don't know.
Problem
I was
solved,
wondering
sir.
that too.
Oh, I was muted.
Who's your mom?
Should be better. No, it's not your mom. Diego, your World of Warships playing is disgusting.
Disgusting.
You should come and fly a plane.
No, sail ship and shoot freedom at people in my bald eagle ship.
You're seriously fucking selling that cancer?
It's not cancer, it's amazing.
Fucking cancer. Nobody want that fucking American shit here.
You're just thinking you're not foundling.
It doesn't matter.
Oh, correct.
I was actually interested what kind of cancer he's linking, but you know.
It's in the group chat.
I can imagine
In
what
group
he's
chat.
linking.
Oh, I think
Oh,
that,
the thing- Thing is, the group chat is not updating accordingly to what the fuck ever. Fucking get online.
and I will link it here.
Oh no, it updated itself. Very good. It looks better than the stock clip, you know. Isn't that the camo you get like for completing the campaign, the American campaign?
Well, that's the thing. I haven't completed the American campaign, but I have.
Oh no! It's just for the color. It's for. I know it. You've completed all of the thingies in the collection.
I have not.
Yeah, but you have to for one of them, you know.
Have you bought that thing, or did you just get it?
I have not brought it. I haven't. I don't know why I haven't.
You've collected all the thingies in one of the collection,
No,
and that's where you get it.
No,
Just
no,
one.
No, it's for completing the whole collection.
No, it's for completing like 6 pieces. You can see it like in the rewards thing. It says, "Oh, you unlocked this cancerous color scheme for all U.S. cruisers and all U.S. destroyers and shit." So
Torpedoes,
you
direct front.
collected thingies. At least that should you know should how it works.
Torpedoes, dead ahead.
Chris Buck,
Enemy
save your
destroyer
ass.
sunk.
You
Our
told
team is
broadside
taking the
no
lead.
sooner. So shameful.
You not play game like I play game. To shame. To shame.
It's like you have to free throw suicide down
Yeah, it's not like you can kill a conqueror.
I had less than 1,000 health, so. Some guy was complaining, like, what the fuck you doing at the back of the map? I'm like, have you seen my fucking health, you fucking retard?
Almost nobody can successfully
victory
kill
is in
a
sight.
conqueror. A Yamato can. A Yamato can.
The Candyman can.
Whoa! Ha 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 ha! Fuck B-17s. Fuck the AI.
You know what the funny thing is?
No?
There's no Bismarck on our team.
What?
He's misidentified the ship.
Something big and German.
Biggest derpits.
Yeah, my girlfriend liked to call it Bismarck. because it drove
You don't have to.
circuits and didn't achieve nothing. Too soon, man, too soon!
The Tinder Reddit's kind of funny, where people post up weird and funny shit. I told you about that Polish woman.
No?
No,
Oh yeah, you
looking
did,
for a
you
6'7" or 6'12"
Yeah.
German guy with big arms. He can come and invade me any day.
I had to laugh so hard because Melixon is probably the only guy who didn't get that Tinder is not for looking for relationships. It's for girls who say they are looking for relationships, but they want casual sex, but they don't want to look like whores. Called evolution, motherfucker.
Well, he did go out on his date with her on Wednesday, so...
Yes, and you know, he's probably like good looking and shit like that, so you know, we shouldn't have trouble finding casual sex on Tinder, but I guess he's actually looking like for a girl he could like. Right.
Okay, I just checked out the collection, and it is not. Is none of them rewards that I have are that thing.
Are you sure? Because I'm pretty sure that's the only way how
I've
you
just
get this camo.
double-checked. The camo is for Cleveland, so I've done something else to get it.
Oh. Then I can't tell you because that's the only way I know how you would acquisite such exquisite.
You're a wizard, Harry.
Yeah, you're a wizard,
I'm
Neo.
A wizard, Neo.
If somebody's going to become a wizard, it's Starkiller.
If he
Just
reaches
20 more
30,
years.
If he reaches 30, yeah. Okay, interesting. I have a 25% off coupon for ships.
Everybody has that.
Yeah, that's what I'd say. Yeah. Weird, I can't actually buy the boxes or anything for the American one anymore. What the fuck is that? Okay, let's...
Stock version of the Cobra is a piece of shit. You can fire cannon 2 times and then jams if you press the trigger a 3rd time without waiting 2 seconds. So I will kill NPCs now until I unstock the fucking piece of shit. Which is horrible because our enemies are American B-17s.
You need that cannon.
Thing is, like, if the cannon is upgraded, it has 50% more time in between failures, so you know that will become like cool and shit. That will be nice. But now it's just what the fuck happened? Just why have you stopped shooting?
That match was bullshit.
Bullshit. Oh,
We killed the entire enemy team without losing a single person.
Oh my god.
I had fucking great matches earlier, Ericus. It was beautiful. And then I had really shitty matches, and then I had really beautiful matches.
I finished off the H6K4.
I had a 10-minute last man duel with an enemy, like, Japanese pilot.
Oh, it's a shame that you didn't record that. I wanted to see it.
Oh shit, I should just have you... If you would have said it, I could have just saved the replay. Because, like, you can do that in War Thunder.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you might still have your in your replays, right?
I don't know. Where do I save replays?
I don't know. Maybe if they'll start killing.
You know,
Battlestar Galactica, that's where they are.
We see, Jaeger. Because it was fucking the most beautiful thing I ever done. Was the first time I won through skill and not through fucking luck.
The payoff of satisfaction is the endorphins. The endorphin payoff is amazing. Now you want more.
General quarters.
My special mission is to hit the citadel of enemy ships at least 3 times.
Pray to RNGesus.
Oh, it's a tier 7 game, so I might be able to do it.
RNGesus, hear me out. I want to be reborn as a really fat, black, fat woman with a beautiful voice.
No one hears the beautiful voice because you kill yourself before you get to go on X Factor. And the only way we know it's you is because you made a gif of it and uploaded it to the internet. And the reincarnation of this TeamSpeak would know. It's a sign.
And we will like, it's like, have we met in another reality? Because, you know, Jaeger gets probably reborn as a real submarine captain or some shit like that.
Be fun trolling the Russians.
Wait, you mean Jaeger isn't a submarine captain?
Not yet. Because climate change is not going fast enough, so the broom closet actually is set underwater.
In some reality, I am a subboat captain. Somewhere. Smoke. Good stuff. Nice team play from their Kuzo. Smokes in the middle and doesn't shoot. Fucking idiot.
But at least he's helpful to your team, Dad.
Yeah.
But you want to Citadel him, you point to yourself, oh, cool stuff, I can Citadel that.
I guess so. Where is this? The
ship is on fire!
I have radar. I can't get him because I'm not close enough yet.
Problem solved, sir.
Waste of a life. I can use my little circle.
I fucking hate P-17. No way.
What's the B5N whatever? A dive bomber?
B5N. They're kind of, it's more of a carrier bomber. You have no guns on the front. You could turn like a beast.
Okay.
Carrier attack plane. I like that plane. It can turn the hurricane.
Enemy battleship detected.
So I Citadel the Kutuzov in smoke without him being detected because he was
No, somebody already complained about it, that it's like really Could kill destroyers in smoke. Easy.
Yep.
If you don't have a spawner plane. Which is nice so that you can have a fighter plane.
Oh no, that's a Windows key, fuck.
I hate 17s. Just fucking die already. Thank you.
Problem solved.
It's twice as sick.
Enemy battleship detected. The ship is on fire! Enemy destroyer detected.
We're hitting again in the smoke. Oh, I love it. That little circle is perfect.
Concentrate fire on that enemy warship. All stations, reporting the position of a strategic target.
Yeah.
Oh my god, this thing turns amazing.
B5N?
Yep.
Beautiful ship.
Yep.
Yeah, plane.
Jaeger X stopped working. Can somebody restart Jaeger, please?
Keep breathing for me, Augustus. Oh yeah.
Battle starts.
Ah, when you turn, they fucking get you.
Where's the fucking airfield?
Where is that fucking stupid documentary I was listening to?
I've come to a stage where I say like survivability of
Plato,
the
accept the
P-47
memory
is
kept by the
something
priests
you should
in their
admire.
archives. And Plato said to the priests, so when did this happen?
It's
And they said 9,000
if I compare it like to the
Well,
plane
do
I'm
math.
playing right now, it's
9,000
like
years
okay,
ago in 600
it was
BC,
actually a little flying tank.
9,600 BC. It's 11,600 years ago. It's give or take a decade. It's exactly meltwater pulse 1B. So if Plato made the story of Atlantis up, it's really quite astonishing.
The
If he
plane
gives
doesn't
us a
give a
date
fuck
that
until
accords
it
with the
explodes
latest
completely.
geological science.
Well,
I mean, it does
Cataclysm at the
explode.
end of the
That's
Avid riots.
this game. You know, when I compare it to the Cobra, where I get just, you know, fucked by enemy rear gunners.
And of course, Egyptologists will tell you that there is no mention of Atlantis in any ancient Egyptian text. Well, that's true. There isn't. You can't find the word Atlantis in any ancient Egyptian text. But can you find the story of a sacred island of the gods that was the home of an advanced culture, that was destroyed in a giant cataclysm that involved something coming from the sky, and that ended up with the sacred island of the gods being swallowed up by the sea? Yeah, absolutely. You can find that story in ancient Egypt. You can find it carved all over the walls of the temple of Horus and Enki, for example.
Massive storm moving in.
Interesting. It's not that old. It's about 300 BC. In fact, it was up about 300 years after Solomon's visit. But like all temples in Egypt, it was built on the site of an earlier temple, which turns out to have been built on the site of an earlier temple, which was built on the site of an even earlier temple, going back into the pre-dynastic period. And the priests of the Temple of Enfu inherited the archives of those previous temples. And amongst them was a body of material falling apart, written on animal skins, which told the story of the destruction of the gods. And the priests of Enfu decided they were going to preserve that stuff. They were going to preserve extracts of it. That's what they did. They carved deeply into the walls of this new temple they were building, Edfu building texts, and they're primarily found between the inner and outer enclosure walls, and this is what the Edfu building texts look like. And they speak of a homeland of the primeval ones that was destroyed in a great flood, and they tell how the primeval ones, the gods, came to Egypt and established religion by building primeval mounds up and down the land. In fact, it's later here that those mounds originally set out by the primeval ones in the first time, in the time that the ancient Egyptians called Zep Tepi, the first time, that those mounds were indeed to be the sites of all future temples and pyramids that were built in Egypt.
One
They were a
down,
cosmic
3 more to go.
blueprint
Perhaps
placed
numbers
on the
can
earth
fuck them others.
at that time. The texts describe a snake called the Great Leaping One, the chief enemy of the god, and it's his assault that causes the homeland of the primeval ones to be swallowed up by the sea. So often comets are depicted as serpents or snakes in ancient literature. Swallowed up by the sea, but first the island was pierced and the domain was split. The end of the text make it clear that there were survivors of the destruction of the primeval island of the gods, that they settled in many parts of the world, that they wandered the world. And their project in wandering the world was to reincarnate or in some way restart the civilization that they had lost. And it was pursued not only in Egypt, but in many other lands. And this is why Göbekli Tepe, which other speakers will also be addressing, is of the greatest importance and interest. This site, Göbekli Tepe, in Turkey, in the region of Turkey called Anatolia, because that same date, 11,600 years ago, is now the date that has been given by mainstream archaeology for the foundation of Göbekli Tepe. And Göbekli Tepe is a problem for archaeology, because it is a giant megalithic site, completely out of place in time, 7,000 years older than Stonehenge. And what archaeologists say when you say, where's the background to this? Where did they learn to create this megalithic site? What they say is, this was a group of hunter-gatherers. Effectively what they say is, this was a group of hunter-gatherers who woke up one morning, equipped with all the knowledge necessary to create what will turn out to be the largest megalithic site ever built on Earth. And oddly enough, agriculture suddenly blossoms around Göbekli Tepe just when Göbekli Tepe is made. Not only did they invent megalithic architecture, but also they invented agriculture. On the back of an envelope the next day. So there's the comparison. Göbekli Tepe, this is just a small part of Göbekli Tepe that's been excavated, and Stonehenge. We understand Stonehenge, an agricultural community in the Neolithic. It is generating surpluses. You can set aside resources so that you can have people who specialize as architects, people who specialize as astronomers, people who specialize in organizing the large labor force that you need in order to have a megalithic site. But you can understand that in an agricultural community. But the people of Göbekli Tepe were entirely hunter-gatherers before Göbekli Tepe was built. There's no evidence for anything else. Then suddenly it's built, and suddenly they're agriculturalists. It's
when
the
you forget
absence of
how
background to
to
Göbekli
take
Tepe
off
that is the
and
problem.
just sit on
Here's
the
another
runway
view,
for like a minute.
again, of the main area that's
What
been
is forward
excavated.
key?
These T-shaped megaliths, 11,600 years old. Here's one that was left in the quarry.
Like how do I throttle up again?
It developed a fault.
How do you what?
The scale
Like, how
is
do you
more than
throttle
human.
up again?
Many of the megaliths are carved. This is, of course, Pillar 43 in Enclosure D. Really a striking series of images there. I won't go into details on how I interpret those images at the moment. And here I am with Professor Dr. Klaus Schmidt, the excavator of Göbekli Tepe. This was in 2013 that Santa took this photograph. Unfortunately, Klaus Schmidt died of a heart attack a year later in 2014. But he didn't have a heart attack when he saw me turning up on the site unannounced. He knew who I was, and often archaeologists actually send me away when I turn up on the sites, or turn their backs as though they're going to catch some kind of disease if they get close to me. But not Klaus Schmidt. Klaus Schmidt welcomed me to the site. He spent 3 days showing me around.
Fucking level when you are destroyed it. You have a hole in your left wing. You have a hole in your left wing. You have a hole in Jude, your plane.
Well.
It's like, okay,
Göbekli Tepe was actually originally found.
Telling me that I fucking have a hole in my wing.
In early 1950s.
You have a hole in your left wing.
They were doing a survey looking for prehistoric material. It looked promising because they found lots of flints on the surface. It looked like a prehistoric site, but then they saw these a bit of a column sticking out of the ground, very beautifully cut T-shaped column, and they said, nah, that's not Stone Age. That's
it's fucking hard as hell to shoot down the
so they didn't actually
compared to other bombers.
Their loss was Klaus Schmidt's gain.
But even the Russians,
he went back to that site in 1996 and he started to dig up those columns.
Fucking Russian bombers have the decency to fucking die once in a while.
Ceremony, 11,600-year-old megaliths. Schmidt is
I'm
telling
not
me
complaining.
2 things here.
I'm just
the first thing he's telling me is
that
this site is not buried by natural.
Oh, I'm saying the realistic, the arcade.
After being founded 11,600 years ago, it ran for about 1,000 years, and then they shut it down. And you have to envisage the scale of the operation. Teams of people bringing buckets filled with rubble and earth, pouring them into the stone circles, filling them up, covering them completely, and then actually completing a whole hill over the top of it. That's what Göbekli Tepe means in the Turkish language, pot-bellied hill. That's all anybody thought it was for the next 10,000 years after it was buried, until Klaus Schmidt began the excavation. That's the first thing. The second thing he's telling me, pointing vehemently at the ground, is that they've only excavated 1/50th of the total area of Göbekli Tepe. 50 times as much as we're already seeing is still under the ground. Hundreds and hundreds of stone pillars identified by ground-penetrating radar. I said, when are you going to excavate it? He said, perhaps we will never excavate it. For me, this is threatening. This site has the secrets. It's a time capsule that has the secrets of our past buried within it. It desperately needs to be excavated. So, in brief, I don't think we have a sudden, mysteriously precocious invention of megalithic architecture and agriculture amongst hunter-gatherers 11,600 years ago. I think we have a transfer of technology. I think Göbekli Tepe speaks to a people who came there who already knew everything about site organization, astronomical alignments, quarrying megaliths and erecting them on a large site, and who already knew everything.
It turns on a fucking dime. It's great.
I think they used Göbekli Tepe. Actually, Klaus Schmidt used this phrase to me, that Göbekli Tepe appears to have been a center of innovation, that around it innovations took place. Well, that's what you'd expect with a transfer of technology, that innovations, this is the beginning of agriculture as we know.
Getting fucked from 3
and of course it's not alone. Göbekli Tepe is just 50 miles away. There's another site called Tepe where we can see the T-shaped pillars sticking out of the ground. They're actually in a farmer's backyard. They're completely ignored. Nobody's looking at them. How much more
fucking scary
do the spoils of Shaker have
all over the place
about our lost and forgotten past? And we shouldn't forget that Göbekli Tepe lies between the headwaters of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers.
In Vietnam was achieved by an air raider against
Those
the
are
MiG.
the 2 rivers of ancient Mesopotamia. The
Because he was a
Euphrates,
noob.
and Göbekli Tepe is right up there in the headwater
Yeah, the MiG was a noob.
Yeah.
So what are the... Is it possible that there's some kind of flow on from Göbekli Tepe into the historical civilization of ancient Sumer,
Phantom F4s
ancient
with no machine
Mesopotamia?
guns versus MiGs.
Interestingly enough, Madeline Danes, this is not my find.
The whole air war in Vietnam was really interesting.
What she sees, do you see this T-shaped thing?
Yeah, I watched the pretentious American show, like, you know, like it was cut like one of those American things, like, you know, from like the aliens kind of like it was like, but this was telling the story quite good. And the guys who made the kill.
Well, the problem after World War II, when they got all the missile technology and stuff, they never told their pilots how to dogfight anymore. No, they just stopped teaching dogfighting tactics. They completely lost like 2 or 3 generations worth of dogfighting techniques and stuff like that.
I just think it's funny. I just think it's funny that they had to shoot down a MiG in a ground attack plane with the big 80 rounds, and he was just, you know, he was doing the Russian thing. He was heading on, right? He was just believing in his bias too much, I guess.
The ground attack guy, World War II vet.
The guy is fucking out-turning turning inwards more often. Fucking great.
That's the reason why Top Gun is
what a nigga.
Is in Vietnam. Can't dogfight at supersonic, so we're going to put the guns on the front. We're also not going to teach our pilots how to dogfight because they just shoot themselves at each other.
There's this P-40E doing spinny things, and I'm flying in circles, spinning around his smoke trail. It's like the most retarded thing.
No. It's what you sacrifice yourself for the Emperor for.
Shit.
To do that kind of shit.
I have statistics. Can't remember the exact numbers. At World War II, so World War II in Korea, you have American pilots, air, let's say German or an opponent, right? And I want to say the kill ratio is something like 50 to 1.
Hull breach. We're taking on water quickly.
It then go to the Vietnam one, and it becomes 1 to 2 or 1 to 1. After they institute the Top Gun program, it becomes 1 to 500 again. So a really high number. It's amazing. Who the fuck is in charge? You know? It cost American lives.
Enemy cruiser detected. Enemy destroyer detected.
Why is there Thunder Attack 3 at 5.0, like the P-47N 15?
Yeah,
and that has a rate of climb of 4
The ship is on fire.
meters per second. Why? Why is it worse than the other Thunderbolts? Explain.
Maybe heavy audience.
What?
Heavy audience.
If I spin really fast,
You see that?
that mean that I'll go faster?
T-shaped megalith
Yes.
with a circular enclosure.
You can
And actually, there's another
make
two of them
yourself
here.
like you've been
Well, this
shot
is very
down and
odd
fumbling
because
to
this
the
is found
ground.
on a
Maybe the
tablet
guy's not
dated to
noticing.
3500 BC, thousands of years after Göbekli Tepe. It suggests that some knowledge or information about Göbekli Tepe was passed down, was transmitted into the Sumerian period. And there we find ourselves with the incredible story of Oannes, the bringer of civilization, and the 7 Apkallu, the 7 sages. These are why I use the title Magicians of the Gods, because that's what the Apkallu were, the magicians of the gods. They're the bringers of civilization. Oddly, they wear fishes on their heads. And I never grow tired of pointing out they also carry these funny little man bags. You see the man bags? They're all carrying these funny little bags, like handbags. You can actually find 3-dimensional versions of them. Now the odd thing is that if you cross the Atlantic Ocean and you go to the oldest
Italians.
site in Mexico that shows an image of Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent, the civilization bringer to Central America, you will find
I never saw such a thing in real life in the game, you know.
Is a figure holding exactly one of those same bags. And I'm beginning to wonder whether that's some kind of badge of office or some kind of symbol whereby a group of people who literally wandered the world spreading civilization, something that they recognized one another with. Because oddly enough, those handbags turn up at Göbekli Tepe. They turn up on Pillar 43 in D, where we know they're 11,600 years old. This is an idea that seems to have been passed down in time, and specifically in ancient Mesopotamia. Now there's a fantastic city which is thought to only be about 4,000 years old in that area called Haran. And Haran was populated by a people called the Sabians. They were known as star worshippers. What's left of ancient Haran now is nothing. The original Temple of the Moon is gone. But interestingly, the symbol of the Temple of the Moon, the crescent, moon and disc that you can see here, that exact same symbol, I don't know where I'm going with this. Yeah, that exact same symbol occurs at Göbekli Tepe, the crescent and the disc. But thousands of years earlier. The Sabians of Haran were allowed by Islam during the time of the Holy War. They practiced what Islam regarded as a pagan religion, but they were allowed to maintain their religion, unlike anybody else. They inferred that they had a prophet, that he was Hermes, which is the Greek name for Thoth, the ancient Egyptian god of wisdom. And for a few centuries, they were allowed to continue with their Temple of the Moon and their worship of the stars, as it was put. Until finally Islam got heavy and they came in and they smashed up the Sabians of Haran and they put a huge mosque there. And that's the remnants that we now see of the mosque. And interestingly enough, the one surviving minaret of the mosque is still to this day referred to as the astronomical tower. So is there some hangover from the past in Haran that we can take a look at? Well, interestingly enough, it turns out that the Sabians, those people of Haran, made an annual pilgrimage to the pyramids of Giza every year, right up into our age, right up into the 1100s, the 1200s. The Arab geographer Yaqut al-Hamawi gives the dimensions of the two largest of the Giza pyramids in his geographical dictionary and adds to both of them, the Sabians made their pilgrimage. Salim Hassan even suggests that the name Sabian may be taken from the ancient Egyptian word Sabah, which means star. Whatever the origin of their name may have been, the fact remains that they fully recognized the pyramids as being monuments connected with the stellar cult and revered them as places of pilgrimage. So there's Giza.
Massive storm moving in.
And certainly it's an astronomical site. I mean, you don't take a 6 million ton, 481 foot high monument and align it to within 3/60ths of a single degree of true north without using astronomy. This is just obvious. And the site is situated on a significant latitude, 30 degrees north, 1/3 of the way between the equator and the North Pole. Again, you need astronomy to do that. The site is speaking to our planet, but it's doing so in the language of astronomy. So perhaps it's not surprising that the Sabian so-called star worshippers were very interested in Giza in Egypt. And again, Egyptologists know this, by the way, but they say it's entirely a coincidence. If you take the height of the Great Pyramid and multiply it by 43,200, you get the polar radius of the Earth. And if you measure carefully the base perimeter of the Great Pyramid and multiply it by 43,200, you get the equatorial circumference of the Earth. In other words, it appears to be a three-dimensional scale model of a hemisphere. It encodes the dimensions of our planet. In all those millennia of darkness when we didn't even know we lived on the planet at all, let alone what its dimensions are, all we ever needed to do was go to Giza, measure the Great Pyramid, scale up by 43,200, and we have the dimensions of the Earth. It's a complete coincidence, says Egyptologists. Total accident. What's that number, 43,200 anyway? You just pick any number out of a hat, you know. Well, actually, it's not picked out of a hat. 43,200 is a significant number. random. It's a number generated by this phenomenon, which is called precession. The little GIF is showing, modeling precession. This wobble on the axis of the Earth. We all know our pole star, right? It's called Polaris. What is the pole star? It's the star that the extended north pole of the Earth points most directly at. But if the extended north pole of the Earth is doing this in the heavens over a very long cycle, it follows that it won't always point at Polaris. Sometimes it'll point at empty space, sometimes it'll point at another star, and indeed ancient cultures recognize different pole stars in different times in the past. So that's one area at the pole of the heavens where precession is observed. And this process unfolds at the rate of roughly 1 degree every 72 years. 1 degree every 72 years. The other place it's visible is on the horizon, where the zodiacal constellations house the sun, month by month. It's not an accident that the early Christians used the fish as their symbol. We are living at the end of the age of Pisces. The early Christians were living at the beginning of the age of Pisces. Because why? The constellation Pisces houses the sun at dawn on the spring equinox. The sun is rising against the background of the constellation of Pisces. But because of this wobble on the axis of the Earth, the constellation of Pisces is being shifted out of alignment, and what is shifting in? We live in the age of Aquarius. This is the process of precession. It operates at the rate of 1 degree every 72 years. 30 degrees, one house of the zodiac, will cost you 2,160 years. The whole cycle, 360 degrees, which brings it back to starting point, 25,920 years. And that issue has been thoroughly and intensely investigated by Professor Giorgio de Santillana, Professor of the History of Science at MIT, formerly, and Hertha von Desch, the historian of science from Germany. Hamlet's Mill, amazing book, almost impossible to read. I had to read it 5 times. I still have my notes. Finally, I got it. Finally, I found the time bombs that they were hiding within that text. What they, if we could take the little picture of me off the screen, I just would appreciate that. What they're saying is that no, the Greeks didn't discover precession. This knowledge was known thousands of years before the Greeks. They actually trace the origins of the system to some almost unbelievable ancestor civilization of prehistoric antiquity that first dared to understand the world as created according to number, measure, and weight. They thoroughly document this. Myths from all around the world contain that sequence of numbers based on the number 72. You can take 72 and add half of 72 to it. You get 108. 72 plus 36 is 108. Divide by 2 is 54. These are all part of the precessional sequence. 10,000. There are 432,000 syllables in the Rig Veda. Osiris was captured by Seth and his 72 assistants. And that's why 43,200 isn't a random number, because it's a precessional number. It's 600 times 72. You know, you want to create a very large monument. You could have, which models the Earth, you could have done it at the scale of 1 to 57,000 or 1 to 38,000, but you chose 1 to 43,200 for the big monument. That can't be an accident. They are giving us the dimensions of the Earth on a scale provided by the key motion of the Earth itself. That is clever processing and sending of information to the future. And the system's not only expressed in myth, it's in architecture. The avenues of statues of Angkor in Cambodia, 108 in each avenue, 54 on each side. And they are churning the Milky Ocean, by the way. That's the serpent wrapped around Mount Mandara. And they're churning the Milky Ocean for Amrita, the elixir of immortality. That churning motif, the serpent being involved, is very indicative of precession. And you know, I mean, actually, in a sense, who gives a damn when the Hoover Dam was built? But the fact of the matter is that there's a precessional work of art built into the Hoover Dam. It's a huge piece that is there, and the artist Oscar Hansen, who was responsible for the star map set into the floor of the monument, believed that in remote ages to come, intelligent people with knowledge of precession would be able to discern the astronomical time of the dam's dedication. In other words, You don't want to trust your information to a written document that you're going to send down to the future. Nobody might read that text. The document might not survive. You want to use a universal language, the language of astronomy, and a massive piece of architecture that's going to last. And oddly enough, that's what happened at the Hoover Dam. That it is designed, freezes the skies above the dam at the date of the dam's completion, and truly, yes, in the future, that would be enough information to work out when the dam was made. So that's what I'm suggesting, and it's the same thing in Giza. That Giza is like the Hoover Dam. It contains an astronomical imprint that spells out a very specific date.
Okay, seriously,
that's
what the fuck am I stuck in?
Great pyramids of Giza, of course. Down here,
stuck in
this little fella down here that I'm just outlining, that's the Great Sphinx, 270 feet long and 70 feet high. And it's overlooking the Nile Valley. That's the Nile Valley of this. And here's the Great Sphinx, and my God, it looks ancient. Sitting there on the Giza Plateau. You know, and just for reference, I mean, here's Giza and here's Göbekli Tepe. Okay, so Robert Schoch and John Anthony West. The initial insight came from John Anthony West. John Anthony West looked at the erosion of the Sphinx. Great man, by the way, John Anthony West. And thanks to anybody here who contributed to the crowdfunding campaign for John, because John had massive metastasized lung cancer. And we all thought we were going to lose him. But the crowdfunding campaign made it possible for him to go to the alternative clinic, the Brzezinski Clinic, and he refused chemo and radiotherapy, of course, and the result is that his cancer is now in remission. It was an amazing story. So it was John who had this insight, and he brought Professor Robert Schoch at Boston University to Giza to give a geological opinion. What is the nature of this peculiar erosion that we see in the trench around the Sphinx? Because you see, the Sphinx was made by cutting out the bedrock around it and separating the core body in this trench. Now, the core body has been covered with restoration. They were even restoring it in the Old Kingdom. How come they're restoring it in the Old Kingdom if it's built in the Old Kingdom? They're restoring it. They're still restoring it today, but where you can see very clearly the erosion is in the surrounding trench. That is classic precipitation induced. I'm sure Robert Schoch is taking details. But the fact is that there were no such rains in Egypt 5,000 years ago. You have to go back actually to the Younger Dryads to find the kind of rains in Egypt that could have caused this erosion on the Sphinx. So John and Robert Schoch, they went to the Geological Society of America in 1992 with their evidence, and they presented it there. And most of the geologists immediately saw the point of the evidence. Who didn't see the point were Egyptologists. Mark Lehner and Zahi Hawass. They dismissed the whole thing on behalf of the world of Egyptology, and their argument was basically as follows. There isn't a monument anywhere in the world that is 12,000 years old. If a culture was capable of creating the Sphinx, surely it would have created other monuments, but we don't find any. Therefore, obviously, the Sphinx is the work of the ancient Egyptians. Well, of course, they could say that in 1992, but they can't say it today, not when we have Göbekli Tepe, which is around 12,000 years old. And if you can build Göbekli Tepe, you can certainly make the Sphinx. The Great Sphinx, which gazes due east. This is the back of the Sphinx's head. When you get up on the Sphinx's back illegally, you get the Sphinx's point of view. Should you be up there illegally on the summer solstice, the sun will be way over here, well to the north and east. Winter solstice, the sun is way over here, well to the south and east. But if you get up on the Sphinx's back, spring it, 21st of March, that's when you find what the Sphinx was. The Sphinx gazes exactly at the rising sun on the equinox. It is perfectly real to the east, and that's what it is. It's an equinoctial mark. It's the equinox, and the constellation that lies behind the sun on the equinox. It's speaking to the equinox, and it is marrying heaven that day. Here's the funny thing. If the Sphinx was built in 2,500 BC, I don't know if you know this, but 2,500 BC was the age of Taurus. The constellation of Taurus housed the sun. Ancient Egyptian iconography in the the ancient Egyptians had wanted to create an equinoctial marker in the age of Taurus, they would have made it in the shape of a bull, not in the shape of a lion. So when does a lion house the sun on the equinox? Computer software gives us the answer. The lion housed the sun on the equinox exactly during the equinox, 12,800 to 11,600 years ago. The Sphinx is not only looking at the rising sun, the Sphinx is looking at its own celestial pattern in the heavens.
Your team depends upon you.
Believe that the Sphinx originally had the head of a lion, but it was recarved in pharaonic times into the human head that we see today. Three Great Pyramids. There's the Great Pyramid, half a course of masonry on the front. On the top left, we don't know if it was ever completed. And the top of the Great Pyramid, second pyramid behind, my granddad's feet. One step down, P. Hancock, 5th of April 1916. My grandpa's diary, 5th of April 1916, climbed Great Pyramid today. He was a chaplain with British forces. And here's Robert Bovard, who's also speaking here at Conte. And I want him to pay huge tribute. He is the Giordano Bruno of our time. I mean, this is a man who has just cracked the astronomical code wide open. And boy, has he taken stick from the mainstream for doing that. But Robert's Orion correlation, don't listen to anybody who tells you it's been refuted. This correlation has never been refuted except in the fantasy minds of a few others. This correlation is very, very real. Robert found the Orion correlation. First person to notice the remarkable similarity between the three pyramids on the ground and the three stars of Orion's belt. And oddly enough, as you go into the software and the simulations more and more carefully, you find that the alignment only becomes perfect not in 2,500 BC, but in 10,500 BC, 12,500 years ago. And that's exactly the time that the Sphinx is looking at Leo. And indeed, as the sun bisects the horizon, Leo rises higher in the sky, and that's the moment that, like the hand of a clock, the constellation of Orion sits due south on the meridian in exactly the pattern of the three Great Pyramids. I don't believe it's a coincidence. I think that we are looking at a date stamp for the date that we call 12,500 years ago, smack in the Younger Dryas. And if we go back to Haran, I'm running short of time, so I'm not going to read you all this. This is the Thabit ibn Qurra, amazing Haranian geographer and mathematician, wrote this paean to paganism at the time. I'd love to read it, but you can read it yourselves. He worked a lot with right triangles. A 3, 4, 5 right triangle is a triangle that has its sides in the dimensions 3, 4, and 5, and that has a right angle in the triangle. When you have a 3, 4, 5 right triangle, the acute angle is 36.87 degrees, okay? Now here's the curious thing. We talked about Giza and how it gives us the circumference of the Earth, how it gives us the dimensions of the Earth. Here's the the King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid. Oddly enough, again, I don't have time to go into details except to just show you briefly how it works. There is a 3, 4, 5 right triangle in the King's Chamber. And here is the point that I wish to get to. Anthropologist and archaeologist James Q. Jacobs was the first to notice something absolutely stunning about Haran. Haran, this place famed for its knowledge of the stars, for its measuring of the Earth, for its cosmography, for its use of 3, 4, 5 right triangles in trigonometry. This site is situated on latitude 36.87 degrees north, which is the acute angle in a right triangle. That can't be an accident. That site was deliberately located on that latitude, and it has been associated with triangles that generate that number ever since. And something else even more puzzling. I'll let J.Q. Jacobs speak for himself. Even non-archaeos understand stratification and deposition. Deeper is older. Göbekli Tepe is 12,000 years old. Iran is equated with Ur of Sumeria, the civilized land and the cradle of civilization. That cradle in astronomy is presumed to be 4,000 to 5,000 years old, not 12,000. Iran is located at 3/4 tan latitude.
Such a catchy song, isn't
parameter.
it?
And Göbekli Tepe is at a specific
I have no idea how
difference
it would
north. Göbekli Tepe, it turns out, is 1/1000th of the Earth's circumference north, latitude difference north of Göbekli Tepe. Because the fixed parameter must come first, the conundrum, of course, is that this precise 1/1000th of circumference latitude difference is either a coincidence or ancient astronomy just took a leap back to 12,000 years. And I think that's the case. I think we're looking at the fingerprints of a huge ancient astronomical endeavor. The discovery of Göbekli Tepe must cause us to question the dating of all other megalithic sites around the world. It helps us to understand this one in the Sicily Channel, which was covered by the rising sea waters almost 10,000 years ago. It must cause us to question the age of 3,000 or 4,000 years that's given to the T-shaped megaliths of Menorca in the Balearic Islands. They look exactly like Göbekli Tepe. Göbekli Tepe is unique because the site was sealed and deliberately buried. All these other megalithic sites have been contaminated with later dates by other cultures that have come across them. You can't date stone. You can only date organic material associated with the stone. And that organic material can give you falsely young dates if it's been introduced by later cultures. The general appearance of Göbekli Tepe is so similar to the Maltese megalithic temples.
Because
Again, I've argued since 2002 that the Maltese megalithic temples are wrongly dated, that they go back into the Upper Paleolithic, that they're more than 12,000 years old. Baalbek in the Lebanon. I'm sitting in the middle of the Temple of Jupiter. The Temple of Jupiter is undoubtedly a Roman temple, but is surrounded by this weird U-shaped megalithic wall, which doesn't actually join the temple. Some bits have been filled in, but it's separate from the temple. And I'm not going to go into too much detail on this, except to say that the temple platform is entirely composed of relatively small stones. But when you look down over the edge on the north side, you see this freestanding giant megalithic wall.
Hello, chaps.
So you can see the platform, nothing very major.
How are you doing?
In the surrounding wall, which also continues on the south side. And there I'm in it for scale, of the size of these megaliths, how different they are from the rest of the temple. It's on the west side that you find the Trilithon.
From the same guys,
each of these three blocks
you can't buy loot
weighs 900 tons. They are separated from each other so by such a minimal distance that you literally can't put a sheet of paper into the gap between them.
That's one good thing. What's been going on the IPC politics chat?
According to archaeologists, is supposed to have been the work of the Romans. All the Roman work. And their killer argument for saying why it's Roman work is this rather dark block in front of my right
What
foot.
does the German nigger
when
want?
When it's excavated, it turns out to be a Roman column drop. It actually does definitely come from a Roman column. There's no doubt about it. We can't deny that. It's sitting there in the foundations of the wall. And the archaeologists say, look, we got a Roman temple on top. We got a Roman column drum in the bottom. Pretty obvious the Romans did everything. Is it? Really?
Try to build some
I'm not
fucking
sure, because Rome was used as a fortress for hundreds and hundreds of years. It was besieged during the Crusades. Islam took it at one point. Huge instruments, catapults were sent to fire rocks against the walls. Teams of sappers were sent to undermine the walls. I think we're looking at a repair block. I think this was a repair.
Good point.
Technically you can, but
they used a bit of a Roman column that was lying around.
You think they should be extinct from the GPU. So at least you can spare time.
And in fact, there's another wall definitely built by the Arabs at Baalbek where a Roman column.
What would you call it?
Call it the Purge. Doctor's loose.
No, holy shit.
What I'd do is I'd have all the patients that piss this doctor off, a head and neck surgeon doctor off while he's at work. Open Purge, he then goes out and hunts them down to fucking kill them.
Can you believe like a slightly? Can you imagine how cruel it would be to have like a conspiracy theory which would not be bullshit? Like the vaccination kills us all thing, you know, which would suggest that doctors and especially surgeons would, you know, like trying to selectively reduce and harvest organs and shit and, you know, like, what the fuck ever.
They saved my life just so I could fucking get it. You saved my life? Are you gonna take it?
Sometimes to save a life, you must take a life. That's page 1 of the textbook.
Excuse me, your clipboard fell down, and I wanted to bring it to you, and it said, like, you know, harvest. My name is on the list, but I'm just here for an appendix. Oh, that's just a medical term. Relax. You get surgery now.
One of the nurses is sending me love notes. I heart you.
Fucking beat me into playing planes all the time. When I play planes, he plays warships. That's the kind of non-functional relationship I was trying to escape here on the internet, but I'm betrayed.
It's Warships Day, and join Team Eagle.
Capture that area. All stations, proceed to capture that area.
That's
Team
fine.
Eagle, nigga? Or you'll be joining Team Nigger?
Looking warships, but it wasn't looking
I wish
back.
there was a team. No joke. They let me down. It'd be a fucking gay fish or a fucking cool eagle. In the evolved form of dinosaurs. Or a fucking shark that's evolved in the last 20,000 years. You know what I choose?
Pass assignments as a sausage commercial where it stands fill your portal.
完了しました。
I'm sorry. Holy shit, that was a new experience.
We're losing. Team Eagles is losing.
No! That's not good, Jaeger.
Battle starts.
Bonne chance et bon vin.
Fucking hell.
What?
Yes, that just the information about this car, the Rapid GT Classic. Everything else from the 80s has aged. The Rapid GT Classic has only matured. Like a fine Claris or a really good boob job.
Get the Mini.
The Mini.
Yep.
What's that called?
Can't remember.
That Vini ISSI Classic?
I think it's
the thing you had, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's great, that thing.
Fucking rock as fuck.
Column is also redeployed, and when you compare that Roman column with the one in the foundations, you can see that it's the same kind of workmanship. The biggest blocks are in the quarry. This is the stone of the pregnant woman, 1,000 tons, cleanly separated from the bedrock
at least
here.
it's cheap, isn't it?
And across the road,
well, yeah,
used as a rubbish dump, another giant block, 1,200 tons, but the biggest of all was only found in June 2014. And that's funny because the German Archaeological Institute has been working on the site for 100 years. Yet it wasn't until June 2014 that they found this one. Why? Because it was covered by sediment. This one actually weighs, that's the front end bit there, I'm standing on it here, actually weighs 1,400 tons. It's a giant piece of rock, it's all perfectly cut and quarried. So here's the Orthodox view. The Romans cut and quarried those rocks, but they found they were just too heavy to move. The 900-ton rocks, they could move those, but 1,000 tons about they couldn't move them. So having gone to all the trouble of cutting and quarrying them perfectly, they just abandoned them. In my opinion, very The Romans were pragmatists. Let's say, okay, they cut these huge blocks, they found they couldn't move them. Would they have left them there? No. They had a temple to build. They would have sawn the blocks up like loaves of bread into small blocks. They've already done a lot of work. Why waste time quarrying more blocks when you've got these already cut out? And they would have reused, they would have taken them over in manageable sizes and used them in the temple. The fact they didn't do so suggests to me the Romans never knew these blocks were there. That the whole place was covered by sediment in their time, and that we are looking at a prehistoric remnant at Baalbek. Ollantaytambo, in the Peruvian Andes, you begin to see, again, blocks on this similar extraordinary scale, and just the amazing fitting together of the, I mean, this is opticians' work on a scale of acres that we're seeing up here. Was it really all made by the Incas? Is this Sacsayhuaman all the work of a culture that just had 200 years to put everything together before the Spanish came? Or is it possible that the ancient traditions of the area are right and that the Incas simply overbuilt upon pre-existing megalithic structures? Today, students are taught that it's all the work of the Incas. But again, I go into this in depth in Magicians of the Gods. I mean, that is that monster block there. I'm standing beside it for scale. 300 odd tons. you know, fitted together like a three-dimensional jigsaw puzzle. Everything's so close fitting you can't get anything between the joints. It's almost like they made this stuff soft and molded it together like Play-Doh, and then made this gigantic site. Then we go to Tiwanaku. I'm having to rush through because I'm nearing the end of my time. Tiwanaku in Bolivia, giant megaliths again up to the range of 300 to 400 tons. I'm standing beside one of them here. What do we see in the background? What we see in the background are some funny looking blocks. Let's get closer. Oh, they're H-shaped blocks. They look almost like they're the end pieces of something. It's like something, maybe something metal was joined together by these pieces. The funny thing, however, is that that precise same symbol, which we call the letter H, appears at Göbekli Tepe on the belts of those figures, because those T-shaped megaliths, they're not just megaliths, they all have arms and hands, and they all have belts. They represent human figures. So the same iconography turns up at Göbekli Tepe and at Tiwanaku. And here we're looking down on the Kalas Asia and the Akapana Pyramid from an extremely cold aircraft with the windows open at 18,000 feet. Boy, did we have altitude sickness after that. In the Kalas Asia is the gateway of the sun. It's down in that corner, and this is the outline of this amazing structure, the Kalas Asia. When you look closer, you see that the Kalas Asia has... the wall is actually defined by a series of megalithic stones, like any megalithic site around the world. When we get closer, you can see those megalithic stones again. You can see that they're sticking up and there's a wall between them. Turns out the wall is entirely a modern archaeological fantasy. That's what they think it should have looked like. All we know for sure is that this marks out the original perimeter. This row of huge, very ancient-looking megaliths. Gateway of the sun plays with the sun, especially at the solstice. And it turns out that the alignment of the gateway of the sun to the solstice sunrise, you again have to go back to the epoch of 10,000 BC in order to get the alignment perfect. One of those megalithic pillars in the semi-subterranean temple has a human face carved on the front of it. That face is distinctly bearded with these mustachios and a spade-shaped beard. Very unusual amongst American Indians to have a bearded figure, but there it is. And it is said to represent Viracocha, the civilizer who brings civilization to the Andes after a time of flood. On the side of the head of that figure is this little animal. We've outlined it here. It doesn't represent any known species of animal today, but it's very like Toxodon that became extinct during the Younger Dryas. And Viracocha's travels take him to Ecuador, where he crosses the Pacific Ocean. Lo and behold, off that coast, a completely neglected discovery back in the 1960s, man-made pillars lying on the bottom of the seabed. Easter Island, figures are dated to about 700 or 800 years ago by archaeology. They can't date the figures themselves, so what they do is they take organic material out of the platform on which the figures stand. As you can see, in the platform on which the figures stand is a reused Easter Island head. You see that? Well, that alone tells us that the heads are older, the statues are older than the walls. They used a bit of one in the wall. So it's not reliable to take organic material out of the wall and say that's the date of the statues at all. But when you go to the quarry, it's a real sight of these hundreds of statues
miniguns everywhere.
Standing up on the quarry. You might think they just go down a few feet under the ground, but actually they go down 30 feet under the ground. Thor Heyerdahl, who I had the privilege to know, was the first to point this out, that he excavated this figure and it goes down 30 feet. Frank Joseph in 2006 was the first to raise a question mark over that. What does it mean? 30 feet of sedimentation? How long does
when
that
I'm playing
take
Warfront, I'm not noticing
like
the horrible sound of the fan in the background.
He's really sure that it takes thousands of years to build up that
No,
level
it's
of
more like steady
in Easter Island. I think if Thor had known about Göbekli Tepe, he would have been intrigued by the similarity of the hand positions of the Göbekli Tepe figures and the Easter Island things, the hands meeting in front of the belly with this belt underneath. And interestingly enough, the tradition is that civilization was born to Easter Island by 7 initiated men, the 7 sages again. And obviously these are bearded figures. I mean, those aren't just...
I know what it's for.
Bearded figures.
The supplies, isn't it? But,
so, we go through
I can't pick them up.
These bearded figures, I really don't rush. The problem with all of this is that the House of History has been built without taking account
looks like it's weapons,
of the younger Dryas
the thing is I can't...
And I would suggest that means the House of History is built on the foundation.
No, I can't kill
unless
the
it
truck.
takes a close calculation right at the beginning of the so-called Neolithic encounter. We are never going to get this. I'm going to have to just rush past all this on the Americans.
But the loggers are after.
The new evidence is coming out about
after
people
right
living
now.
Because our good year is 50,000 year old site. But the question I want to close with, I think we legitimately raised questions of the origin of what is the future of civilization. And I guarantee you I'll do this in a couple of minutes. Because, you know, NASA often makes reassuring statements. I'm not here to spread gloom and doom. I'm here to spread positivity.
Stop, please.
NASA often makes reassuring statements about our cosmic environment. Says that no, none of the potentially hazardous asteroids it's identified are going to hit the Earth in the next few years. That's true. The problem is that potentially hazardous asteroids it hasn't identified. And the estimates are that there's about 100,000. In other words, we've only identified 1% of these potential hazards. And actually, are we getting wake-up calls from the universe? 2013, Chellium. 2014, NASA on alert as huge asteroid skims past the Earth. 2016, 3 reports unexpectedly whizzed by. Hours after discovery, asteroid swept by. An asteroid zipped through Earth's shadow last night. A 3-run asteroid buzzes Earth in second close shade in 2017. You know, we continue. February 2017, NASA warns that an asteroid larger than the Empire State Building could smash into the Earth. Dublin heart rates watch as St. Patrick's Day asteroid comes dangerously close to the Earth in an extraordinary NASA video. Gibraltar-sized spacecraft crosses the Earth. NASA seems to be waking up to this, that there's some issue out there that we need to pay attention to. Scientists all around the world are waking up to it, and the focus is this bloody torrid meteor stream. That is the single most dangerous collision hazard facing the Earth today. I liken it to strapping on a blindfold and crossing an 8-lane interstate twice a year and just praying that we don't meet any traffic. And if we do, let it be motorcycles rather than trucks. Because that's what's happening. The torrid meteor stream is 30 million kilometers wide. That's why it takes the Earth 12 days to pass through it, because we travel at 2.5 million kilometers a day on our orbital path. 30 million kilometers wide, filled with filaments of debris. There are already identified big objects in there. Comet Encke is the best known. Interesting that it's called Comet Encke. It's the largest fragment still visible of the original giant comet that made up the torrid meteor stream, but it's not alone. There's Comet Olgiato, Comet Rudnicki, all in the range of 2 to 5 kilometers in diameter. There are also between 1 and 200 asteroids of more than 1 kilometer in diameter orbiting within the torrid meteor stream. And the scientists think that one of them may be as much as 30 kilometers in diameter. They've done a calculation of the mass of debris. This unique complex of debris is undoubtedly the greatest collision hazard facing the Earth at the present time. And we don't have to have gloom and doom, because as a matter of fact, we already have the technology to solve this problem. We already have it. It's only a matter of priorities. Right now, the big bucks goes to military expenditure. Limitless trillions of dollars can be raised to invent ever more sophisticated ways to murder and destroy one another on this planet, to make us forget that we are all brothers and sisters, that every human has a right to life. We seek to inflict, when I say we, everybody's at this mad game of destruction that's going on in the world. Yet our cosmic environment is seething with danger, and we're paying absolutely no attention to it at all, while we look for ways to destroy one another. as a species. The technology already exists to sweep our cosmic environment clean.
What happened?
And I'll close on this note. Of course, when you live in a brightly lit city, you never see the stars. Light pollution cuts it down. Yeah. But if you go up in a NASA satellite and look down on the Earth, you will see the effects of electrification. You'll see that Northern Europe is brightly lit. But much of Africa is dark. This is taken as a sign of the progress of technology. The brightly lit areas have progressed, the other areas haven't got electricity.
There's no conclusion.
And the same in the Western Hemisphere. There's North America, like a chain of jewels, and the Amazon Basin is almost completely dark.
Is it from the free thinking conference of Dank Master Race?
I mean, they see an airplane going overhead and they think,
I fucking like the talk we talked about, right? That was
we live in a world
great,
where
like,
there are hunter-gatherers coexisting.
I'm not saying it's true. I'm just saying, 70% of all British people, like 90% think like she got killed.
Who would survive?
I'm not gonna say she got murdered, but definitely.
With our technology,
the alien race,
with our dependence on specialism, actually very few of us know how to survive at all. We are kept alive by a complex internet
I'm not saying
network of specialization.
But I'm just asking
Everybody
questions.
does their bit, and that's civilization.
Do your own research. Don't take my word for it.
We have lost the psychic resources to face a catastrophe. We're not armored mentally against that. Human beings would certainly survive, but I don't think our civilization would survive such a cataclysm. I think we'd be into a Walking Dead scenario within about 2 weeks. Everything would fall apart. There would be no food in the cities. It would be awful. But who would survive? Triumph would be the hunter-gatherers, because they're in the business of survival. That's what they do all the time. An event like this would just go over their heads. They would get through. Some of us might even settle amongst them, seeking their help, seeking their refuge, and we might teach them something.
How the fuck
we know if we happen to be individuals who knew enough worth teaching. And who's to say 10,000 or 11,000 years from now that the descendants of those hunter-gatherers would not be passing down a quote-unquote myths? The archaeologists of the time would call it a myth. A myth about how there was once a great civilization that lived on this planet, so advanced that they were almost like gods. They could send men to the moon. They could fly around the planet in a matter of hours. They could speak to one another and see one another on opposite sides of the earth. But they became cruel. They became arrogant. They began to impose their will on others around them. They developed an overweening pride in their own achievements. They ceased to bear their prosperity with moderation. And the universe slowed down. Let's make sure we're not lost civilization. Thank you. Thank you.
There you go. If the plane like right now would have an A series, so you could call it the King, Cobra, K-10, the KKK.
The KKK. No wonder it's yellow. That's the most boring hour and 49 minutes over fucking. Where was the conclusion? Where was the conclusion?
Here we go. So it brings me to you. After 30 years of running around, I'm about to give you the very first ever presentation of the Great Pyramid seen again. We wrote a lot about the Great Pyramid. But hardly 3-4 years ago, and I'll be very honest with you, I would not discuss the extraterrestrial possibility. The reason being is
an Egyptologist.
I like my evidence. In fact, it's dangerous.
I'm going to wear an Indiana Jones hat. Carry fucking
intelligence data.
Which is fair enough.
I don't think that's especially required, but you know.
I think that.
Get the fucking whip out, do the whip thing as she hit my chin by accident.
Evidence, because
Problem solved, sir.
Examine the story as well.
Just to debunk these fucking idiots.
Nigga gotta aim. Nigga gotta aim.
What happened is
these pyramids, they high. Yeah, no shit.
It will only happen when
what's the calculation stuff pi is relevant to
is forced.
No, but it also means it's half the Earth.
Is forced to look at
part of what the equation is. These numbers are sacred readings.
They would not consider
we have the same numbers as we did.
The ship is on fire!
12,000 BC.
People like Copernicus.
Against the change.
So stupid.
It took 300 years for the academic world to accept it. But they were forced. The evidence was overwhelming. It was irrefutable.
But I would give to Egypt and like a lot of cultures that they were probably like a lot more civilized that we would give them. Or maybe like, you know, we give to them now because we found so much bullshit.
You know what the problem is?
That they found the graves of the people who worked with the pyramids because they actually engraved themselves as like, hey, we built this fucking pyramid, yay!
Yeah, that's all this convincing evidence. Like they actually do research properly and they have some good ideas. Then they fuck
and then
it up
completely.
Yeah, they fuck it up completely. It's like, yes, because these things are aliens and they come from the Bureau and they gave us the technology. It's like, hey, look, there's some compelling evidence here to suggest that all of these cultures do share some sort of predecessor culture. Then they start giving their theories on
torpedoes,
how,
direct front.
How the flood is coming from the Ice Age, where they hypothesize that maybe a meteor hit North America. There's geological evidence to show that there were flash floods and stuff there.
Which is like a very part, you know, I can live with just, you know, maybe there is an underlying society, like, you know, like 50,000 years ago, where nobody gave a shit, and we just don't see it anymore, because, you know, it's gone, nigga.
Oh, no.
But, you know, it was built by aliens. Why do you bring the aliens in all the time? Can't we just live with aliens all the time? So
they make convincing arguments that, hey look, the Ice Age happened, and that's when all the cultures decided to get the flood myth. Kind of makes sense. You have all these like predecessor cultures that are talking about the flood, and then around this time, there's some sort of global warming change, like world event happening. Yeah, that kind of makes sense, you know? Then you turn around and say they had ancient alien technology that fucking levitate boulders.
Yeah, that's where it starts to get weird.
No, what the fuck? You probably had something legit.
I'm just aliens, Jaeger. Ancient aliens.
First off, all these cultures knowing each other is probably legit. They probably had trade and stuff. But they go fuck it up. Fuck it up.
The ship is on fire! Achtung! Meldet Zielposition! Confirmed penetration!
I made it when I say mainstream scientists. The fuck are you talking about, mainstream scientists?
Where I was talking about this when, like, they are interested in archaeology to point out, because, like, everybody who was an archaeologist back then was basically, like, a very rich British person, probably related to Sparta. Like, fancy moustache, and gotta get that gold camera. Oh, look at this sarcophagus. What we belong to?
Sarcophagus. Don't you mean sarcophagus? Who is the archaeologist? Who is the one with the moustache? I get to name the things, excuse me.
Who has the empire now? Who has the fucking empire? Yes.
The British Museum is the greatest.
What do you know? I'm from Egypt. From war crimes.
The British Museum is the British Empire's loot box.
Yeah, it is.
What's that? What's that, Egypt? We took those Sphinx, and you want them back? No.
Could we please have them back? No.
Can we please have the fucking
Greek?
boats of our ancient kings back? No.
What's that, Greece? We've got those marbled sidings from your ancient temple. You want them back for your cultural reasons? No. These are ours now.
We fucking saved you from the Nazis. Be fucking grateful.
Yeah. This is the price you pay.
You don't complain.
The Nazis would have destroyed your culture. You must thank us by giving us all your culture.
Oh, your country's fucked now. Go fuck yourself. Come back when you're relevant to the world again.
Yeah, it's ironic how the Greek ruins are actually like worth more than like normal buildings in Greece now, despite that they're ruins.
I'll fucking start living in them then.
I mean, you know, like when they built all the great relic sites, you know, they actually gave a shit about the fuck they were doing, right? I guess they were not that nihilistic back then. Because, oh my god, thunder must be the gods. Holy shit! Right? Gives life a certain tension.
God
when you know, like, Zeus, you know, Zeus could be out trying to fuck your wife. That's why you have to work really hard to become Olympic champion and shit.
I don't remember making my wife pregnant. Must be Zeus.
Yes, it was the Holy Spirit, my dear. Yep, I'm totally believing that, and that's why we carry on with that. 40 years later, you know, Mother standing.
The Spirit and the Holy Nigger.
If you want to look at it from that way, the whole Catholic religion only came into place because Maria fucked the other guy and said, "Oh my God, it was God. We are going to get the prophet." And then, you know, she told it to the husband, and then they both retold the lie so often that the whole family believed it. And basically Jesus is just a very...
Mary cuckolded.
Well, Joseph got blue-pilled and...
yeah, and they retold the lies so much that even Jesus believed it.
He got black-pilled.
He essentially got crossed by the Romans because his mother wanted to fuck another dude, and he actually believed in it, that it was God.
No, this is... Jesus got crucified because he was black, and his dad Joseph was white. So that means
that's my ticket to hell.
Oh shit, he was it? Oh fuck! Today on Jeremy Kyle.
You are not the father.
You might be able to turn water into wine, but are you my father?
It's just propaganda.
Then you just see, like, instead of like picking up a chair and throwing it, he just levitates it with his finger and hurls it across the stage. To, like...
Gotcha, bitch.
Why are we not writing cheap Family Guy jokes?
What was that Family Guy thing? The Suffering of the Christ 2, and it's an action film or something. Passion of the Christ 2, crucify this. Motherfucker.
Yeah, where he gets that 16.
Yeah, and he's like he takes out an Uzi and starts spraying it around.
Joined your channel.
Welcome to Go Back to the Temple.
Okay.
This is
so fucking gay.
Welcome to the nigger fields.
Welcome to Conspiracy Theory.
Let's reload the fucking cannons.
I don't believe a black man telling you you're losing.
I don't know if he's black. Let's actually have a look. Oh yeah, but maybe he's only, you know, he's permitted to use the radio. Because you obviously can't give a plane to a black man. Don't know how to fly.
This is me currently. It's my stage of life.
I hope you're hanging yourself.
So look.
The Virgin Ottoman Empire.
I bet you kiss girls. Virgin Ottoman Empire, Chud Roman. What the fuck? I guess the whole. Holy shit! I guess like the Crusader King and EU4 thing is basically like the biggest weeaboo game in all times.
You know, we should do right
Only
now.
controlled half the Mediterranean. Full control of Mediterranean.
What is an Austria? Literally made Britain and France a thing. Lasted over 1,000 years.
Is it a sign that my city's getting too big when the Steam overlay almost crashes the game?
This here's a better one.
Maybe.
I've seen several of these comparison ones. What was one of them? It was like
whatever happens.
It was the
German
Picard
Virgin versus the British Chad.
Who'd win?
The Picard Virgin versus the Kirk Chad. It was like Kirk punches an alien in the face. Picard plays a gay ass flute, and then it had one the other way around.
Just listen to that, so good.
You were streaming earlier, and while streaming, you were listening to like a Sargon podcast. It was really fucking weird.
Yeah, it was on autoplay. I was like, fucking whatever, I'll just watch it. It seemed interesting.
German Virgin has a dumb hat with a spike on it, hides inside a tank to avoid eye contact with the enemy, has a dumb cartoony accent, has a stupid pistol that can't even penetrate, is a cuck for the Kaiser, is a cuck for Hitler too, lost both world wars and claims to be the master race. Wears neutral colours to hide himself from the enemy because he's afraid of conflict. Has late colonial empire comprised of leftovers no one wants, laughing stock of Western Europe, even Belgium and the Netherlands laugh at him. Versus the British Chad, has a stylish hat that also protects him from the heat of the sun. Has an awesome rifle with the Jerusalem Jerry's with. Has an accent so awesome it's the default when talking about Romans. Won both world wars but doesn't boast about it. Built the greatest empire in all of history. Invented capitalism, the machine gun, and many more amazing inventions. Freedom and liberty compared to the rest of the world. There's bright and contrasting colours because he's not afraid of conflict. In fact, he revels in it. He's a loyal servant of His Majesty. Brought Western civilization to all corners of the globe. The greatest colonial empire ever.
The ship is on fire.
Now to see what else we can get.
I love how the British Chad is written in some scripts and languages.
Yeah.
Has a dumb hat with a spike on it versus has a stylish hat.
I think the best one is the accent, which is the default for talking about Roman people. That's fucking great because it's the BBC documentaries are awesome, like the older ones. I don't like the new ones because you know they made
the Virgin Russian conscript versus the Chad BDV volunteer. The Russian conscript wears his jacket because the cold could kill him. PTSD, dislikes the recoil of his AK, never committed a war crime, failed mission in Chechnya, need to go to church to pray, anal fucked by Corporal Pavel, versus the Chad VDV volunteer, won the Chechnya war alone, enjoys the war crimes, wears a striped t-shirt, and not afraid of Corporal Pavel, pray God in the battlefield, got decorated by Putin himself, still hears the screams of Chechens, and that made his penis the big penis. What? The English quality of these is so fucking bad.
We are losing partial control of the aircraft. This is fine, this is fine. Ah, fucking superior capitalistic aircraft.
Torpedoes astern.
I'm going to join in on that.
I just zoomed in on something in my city. It said a building is on fire. Zoom in, it's the hospital that's on fire. And I see the fire engines pulling up, and then I see an ambulance pull up and wheel a patient into the burning building.
Good.
AXA.
He died of self-immolation. There's nothing we can do.
I really like that we have group chat now. Makes things so easy. Group insults.
Torpedoes to port.
the unspeakable and add a voice channel.
Yeah, it's the live chat. You can buy tokens.
Concentrate fire on the target.
Been humbug.
Suggesting Jaeger.
CK2 game.
Oh god.
Maybe we should have a massive Stellaris game.
Never.
Oh, it's my last weekend off for several weeks. So
Play War Thunder with us.
Click to the Kings. God damn it.
Rip group play.
Did you get Alan in on Crusader Kings?
I think I have it installed.
Good.
But it was already like 2 GB.
It's settled then?
Nah,
Probably go build
I have like 16 hours of premium account left, so, you know.
No.
Because it's Friday. I'm not giving a Russian company my money.
Sagittarius? You know, playing this game makes me want to learn Latin. Such a sophisticated language.
What?
But I just have to ask the sponsors to speak Latin instead.
Latin? Oh yeah, nigga. Quick out.
The rip is on fire!
That's high five in that.
I hope so.
That's the sound of it right off China and
Chemical engine damage waterline. We're flooding
that's lusty as language.
Yes, the incomprehensible dead language. Just remember that. What was that mentioned in the web sketch where they find the Roman VHS tape or something?
VHS tape?
Well, they dig up this old box and they say, it's a Roman artifact, look what's inside. An actual VHS tape. We can actually see the Romans and how they lived now. It's the tape's been plastic up to until the mid-20th century. Why you want to take this away from me? Why you want to do this to me? Please let me just have this one thing.
The ship is on fire!
Hey, I didn't come out of the gulag to be insulted.
Like waves.
But how else do you get the hero of the Soviet Union if you don't get insulted?
Observed. It was so counterintuitive, but they were forced to accept.
I mean, you have to give it to them that they were actually more fair to their like rough butts, the penalty battalions than most other nations.
Yeah, no, what about the guys that escaped the German prison camp? In the there was an island prison camp in the Arctic wastes, pretty much. And they escaped it using an 18-111. They got shot at by friendlies, and then whenever they got shot down, they got interrogated and then like executed for being spies.
Yeah.
I don't want to think I don't want
Makes
to sit
sense.
here and think I may be in another
No,
place.
I'm not denying like
Or
that Soviet Union was a horrible
I'll be
warfare
back.
regime.
I know.
Okay,
I'll
go
be
fuck
back.
yourself.
We can all play Crusader Kings. Fuck Jaeger's wives.
Just fucking go and play War Thunder.
There, in two places, then where I look at it, it's only
Why is
one
everybody
place.
refusing to play War Thunder?
But it's true. It's a fact that we have to absorb.
You will come back.
State should be in a quantum state, and yet the majority of us are not. And that's why I told you this little story of the ball. I do believe that we can be in a quantum state. Perhaps ancients were in a quantum state all the time because they weren't so preoccupied with the material world. Maybe. Okay, what is the true purpose of the pyramid? Well, Egyptologists tell us it's a tomb. Thank you, goodbye, go home, no problem. See you next year. Or, if it's not a tomb, what is it? Now, in science, it is legitimate to ask questions. And I use the word science in a very, very broad way, because I know that there is a kind of, are you spiritual or are you scientific? No. Spiritual and science are meeting up these days. They're holding hands, because we're realizing that we have a mental universe around us. So I use the word science in that sense. A true researcher, unbiased researcher, will ask the questions. The question has to be asked when there is an anomaly. This monument, let me give you a feel. Who has been to Egypt? Quite a lot of you. So you've all seen the Great Pyramid. You've seen the Great Pyramid. You've been inside, I guess. You know what I mean. Not to sound pretentious, but going there and seeing the pyramid is wonderful. Go inside, it's wonderful. But you really need to spend a lot of time to get the hit of this one every day. So I decided finally in 2005 to convince my wife again to leave England. You know, the kids have gone now, did their own lives, and to go to live in Egypt and try and sense. But this time, next to the pyramid. Okay, the Giza necropolis. Lovely, real photograph taken by my webmaster. He's a photographer, and well, you know the layout of the pyramid.
This guy's pictures of the pyramids
We're
taken
about,
by his webmaster.
2 kilometers up in the air.
Is this 1993?
There are buses down there that are too small for you to discern. It is an anomaly. It really is. I mean, I've lived there for 3 years outside the Great Pyramid. We had an apartment with a balcony overlooking the Great Pyramid. And I'll tell you what happens as a strange thing that occurs to you. I mean, at the beginning, it's like, oh wow, I mean, outside the pyramid is out there.
350,000 people playing War Thunder. It's crazy.
More than Elite Dangerous.
Okay, here they are from the air.
A lot more than Elite Dangerous.
Here's the necropolis from the east. On the lovely spring day. I know it's spring because of the clouds.
I've decided to research the upgraded Thunderbolt, the upgraded Jack model, since the first plane was so much fun. But like the upgraded version starts where the other one ends, basically.
He has a guest house, by the way, called the Sphinx Guest
House. It doesn't get rockets, does it?
It's very basic, but
you get rockets and shit like that. You can have everything.
Sphinx. You wake up in the morning and
like a test at just slightly better values, but I need to purchase a plane anyway this
There's
year.
a great pyramid.
I'm running out of cash slowly because all the planes are getting very expensive.
Yep, and then the crews, they're expensive as fuck as well.
It's one of those things.
And I like this plane a lot, so I aced it, and that was really expensive. I mean, not aced it, but you know, like, buy the expert perk.
It kind of brings it down a bit. The further you go away, the bigger it gets.
Deutschland.
It's a trick of the mind. It is big. It is big. Well, that's a few statistics. Oh, it's 146 meters
But
high.
what a P-74 can do is
square base. Each side of the base, apart from being
incredible.
aligned perfectly to the cardinal directions, is 230 meters long. If you go around it, it's a kilometer. It takes about 20 minutes to walk around.
Really?
There you can see the courses. I want you to pay attention to the entrance. I can't, my pointer doesn't show too much. The black dot you see there at the bottom is the, what you call the forced entrance. It was forced by Caliph al-Ma'mun's workmen in the 9th century. They cut their way, literally carved their way, and they stumbled on the ascending passage. The real entrance, the original entrance, is a bit higher up. We'll have a closer look at it, but it's not so much obvious in this picture. I think I have an next one. Yeah. Do you notice something peculiar about the original entrance? It's offset. It's not something. All sorts of theories about this. But so it is. See a closer image. So these days, you can do from the forced entrance, but those were inside.
Then you can actually see fucking loads here of planes.
Original entrance. Anyway, very quickly here you realize.
Okay, join you.
Critical hits.
This is a
rank does not matter.
So wait a minute. Because they really didn't need
Yeah, that's how you fucking use a bomber.
With pictures.
To use a bomb.
Yeah, he went completely close to the ground and dropped 2 bombs. Actually killed themselves with those 2 bombs, but don't kill anything else.
That's a picture of the 18th.
Hell.
You can see a British soldier.
Yeah, I'm playing loads British.
And he's protecting the entrance for some reason.
Interesting.
Is it clear? Is it clear?
I don't know if you got trying to swim.
This is my fault.
Yeah, you know, you have some time depending on how much auto fucks up.
Of course. And it shows you how rather precarious it is to climb. Below her, she had to leave her boots, and below her is the original descending passage, which is going up where they carved steps. These are modern carvings. And there she looks very scared. Finally, it's at the entrance.
Where's my beautiful Cobra?
They are absolutely enormous. We have no idea. Really no idea.
I fucking love it that they put a derp cannon in the front. I love it so much.
How they put it there? Why?
You can see the golf ball sized fucking flaming things, you know, just.
They may be symbolic, but unfortunately we haven't understood. Just taking the picture, Joanne.
All stations are requesting fire on the designated target.
At these inscriptions, which you will see here. Somewhere there. Yes? They look a bit rough. But somebody pointed out that similar inscriptions, at least a few of them, appear on the Roswell plate, the Thomas Roswell plate.
What the fuck? How do these torpedoes coming through the land?
There, you can see them there. Anyway, there they are. There's been, of course, all
improved Soviet graphic engine.
How the pyramids were built. I am a builder, I'm a construction engineer, and I can't explain how certain shafts we're talking about. So the correct answer is we don't know. And we certainly don't know how to do
fucking noobs.
Any heavyweight lifting equipment, any cranes, any lorries to carry the stones. We have no idea what is done in the Iron Age. It's the truth. But we're gonna skip
this guy tries to own a fucking ram.
This is a photoshopped, removed pyramids of the Gizeh necropolis.
I'm already dead. That's really a fucking man.
10 years, 8 years, 17 years. It's all guesswork. We do it in 10 seconds. Here's the Gizeh necropolis. That's the end of it.
Congratulations. Fuck. He shot me, so I was actually fucking dead. I couldn't do anything. I think and he fucking turned to the sides. And he actually went in for a ram.
Especially.
They didn't get actually killed.
1920, during the First World War, after the First World War, the British planes flying over, they're doing this picture. I'm showing this because it's amusing. The Great Pyramid, it's built on the edge of an escarpment. Now, let me tell you this. When you are going to build a monument that that's going to be that size, that is going to weigh 6 million tons. 6 million tons. You are not going to take any risk.
Well, the turret time could be, you know,
sure of two things. One is that the soil is hard enough. Soil experts, soil engineers, measure, make sure that of safety 100%. But even if the soil is good enough, not the risk of placing a monument that's especially in the days flap when it's flooded near the escarpment. If this thing, the escarpment collapses, say, listen, why are you taking a chance? Just move it about 50 feet, 100 feet further away from the escarpment. That's it. And we even more annoyingly, as I did say in one of my talks, I don't know if you're there, under the pyramid is a mound. The pyramid caps a mound. Now, you definitely don't want to build a monument of that size over a mound, over an irregular, non-regular foundation. It has to be perfectly flat. You have to distribute the weight equally. Otherwise, it's, you know, it's like building a house over a hill. If you're not flat in the hill, it's crazy. So